All right, in this next video, we're going to be talking about some what I think are kind of silly commands. But if you're, drawing lines and, oops, if you're drawing lines, let's try that again, and you're making mistakes, there's a couple of ways to kind of undo, and that's literally one of these is to kind of go backwards and say, nope, I need to undo that. So I can go up to the undo button up here and just left click that and it undoes what I just drew. So let me do that again, and I'm making these mountains and I see that that looks okay, and now I'm drawing another mountain but by accident. Let me see, I got my snaps on apparently. There we go, and by accident I started from the middle, and I wanted to actually go from the end point, right? One of the bottom end points. So I can just type U and enter, and it'll undo where I was going. I'm going to type U again, enter, and it undoes what I did. There's also, I'm going to left click and start a new line. I can right click on my mouse and also undo that way. All right, just left click on the selection. So that was a right click and then left click to select undo. I'm going to hit escape here. There's also another command called oops. So OOPS, and hit enter and it'll undo one step, depending on that what that one step was. You also have the erase, the undo, and you can hit the drop down here and you can see exactly what was done, and you can go to a very particular point. Problem with undo is you can only go as far back as your last save. So if I were to save my drawing right now, I could not go back and undo these steps. But if I do the standard undo, which is control on your keyboard and then Z, right, I can undo, and keep going back and back and back until my last save. So that's a nice little feature. The other thing that I wanted to show you, I have two lines here. I've got a blue line and a white line. And what I want you to notice about these two lines is that the blue line, if I hover over, kind of goes underneath the white line. The blue line goes all the way till about here. And the white line, you can see, goes all the way over here. So I have overlapping lines. The white line is overlapping. And the icon down here, we kind of skipped beforehand, is called selection cycling. So if you have overlapping elements, I can turn selection cycling on, and if I hover over the area that is overlapping, next to my cursor you see these two sheets of paper kind of overlapping one another, and I can left click that, and AutoCAD will ask me, well, which line, which element do you want to select, because you have elements that are overlapping. So is it the white line, is it the blue line, or is it none at all? And I can make my selection this way. So I left click on the blue line and I make my selection. So again, there it is. There's the overlapping icon. I left click. Now this time I change my mind and I want to select the white line. Now everything is selected because once you have a selection, your selection stays until you clear it with either deleting it or hitting the escape key. So I'm going to hit the escape key. Going back down to selection cycling, if I turn that off, you'll notice that basically it's just going to pick the topmost line. So if I'm in that same area, the white line is the topmost line. It was the last line that was drawn. It will select that line and not the blue line. So if I wanted the blue line, I'd have to actually go and hover over the blue section of the line and then select it in order to make my selection. So that's, I think, one of the last points that I wanted to make. And next we're going to be moving on to some more interesting commands. Can't wait.